Caitlin Clark has been one of the quickest rising athletes of our time and has taken the women's basketball scene by storm while doing so. Between her crazy highlights and her insane records, she has cemented her legacy for years to come. So, with that being said, here are 20 times that Caitlin Clark has shocked the world in her short yet impressive career. To start off, we're going to go way back, into her high school career. Before she became a household name all over the world, she had to start somewhere, and that somewhere was her hometown of Des Moines, Iowa. As a high school junior, she dropped a whopping 60 points against Mason City High School, which brought the attention of local news, and it was also the second most points scored in a high school girls basketball game of all time in the state of Iowa. At number 19, moving on to her college days, she started off with a bang. In her collegiate debut with the Iowa Hawkeyes, Clark put up a whopping 27 points along with 8 rebounds and 4 assists against in-state rival Northern Iowa. Then, in her second game, she went even higher, scoring 30 points with 13 assists and a narrow victory against Drake University. This is where the Caitlin Clark hype train started, and it has not slowed down since. At number 18, in the international scene, Clark has been flawless. Whenever Team USA has Caitlin Clark on their roster, they have never lost. This includes the U17 and U19 teams, which she has played on. It sorta makes you wonder why she was snubbed from the upcoming Olympics. At number 17, by the end of her freshman year at Iowa, she had already gotten to breaking collegiate records. The first major one which she broke was the all-time Iowa women's basketball freshman scoring record, as she led the NCAA in points and came in second in assists. She scored 799 points that year, which also put her in 6th place all-time in single-season scoring, which is now only behind her 3 other years, along with 2 other Iowa basketball greats. At 16, in a game against the Chicago Sky this year, one of Caitlin Clark's opponents did not seem to be happy with her. After a Sky bucket, Sky player Kennedy Carter stormed up to Caitlin Clark and shoved her to the ground. After something like this, you might expect a player to fight back, or at least to get in the face of the person who shoved her. But Clark acted with pure class, as she just sat there and let the refs dish out the proper punishment. This interaction truly showed the world who Caitlin Clark was, and that she was not someone who would throw punches, but someone who would take a punch and then stand back and let her game do the talking. This also showed her leadership, as she has realized that she was an example not only for her teammates, but also for kids all around the world who watched her play. It was a pure class act from Clark. Coming in at 15, in her sophomore year, leading up to the Big Ten, there was already a lot of hype. Clark needed to perform to show that she was the best of the best in the college basketball scene, and that she did. She led Iowa to a victory in the Big Ten tournament and was named as the most outstanding player. One notable game from that tournament was the semifinal, where she put up a whopping 41 points along with 9 rebounds to beat the Nebraska team 83-66 in fashion. Even though they were a second-round exit in that year's NCAA tournament, which still gained a lot of hype through the Big Ten tournament, and the world began to watch closely at what she could really do. At number 14, after her sophomore season, her hype was at the highest that it had ever been, and she was not stopping there. She had been named to the AP All-Preseason team and was also named the Big Ten Preseason Player of the Year, to no surprise. On December 21, 2022, Clark reached another very impressive record as she tied WNBA superstar Elena Delle Donne as the fastest women's college basketball player to 2,000 career points. While it was certainly a huge milestone, she still did it with class, as she admitted it was crazy but gave credit to her teammates. Coming in at 13, in her senior year of college, Clark had already become a household name for college basketball fans, but who would have expected her to grow even more? She also had a lot of records to break in her final college season, and she started off strong. In a game against Big Ten rival Minnesota, Caitlin Clark broke the all-time Big Ten assist record when she marked her 8th assist of the game. This just opened up the floodgates for many more records to be broken later that season. At number 12, while in the WNBA, she won the favor of the fans, so when it came time for fan voting to begin, she quickly became a favorite in the All-Star race. When it was all said and done, the number of people who voted for her was at a whopping 700,735 people. She broke the record by a large margin of the highest number of All-Star voters in a single All-Star game, doing this all just as a rookie. Additionally, the amount of votes which she got was more than all of the votes added up from the 2023 All-Star Game. At number 11, on June 23rd, Caitlin Clark went after another record, but this time it was a team-specific one. She decided to show off her playmaking skills and prove that she had more to give than just crazy shooting and finishing when she recorded 13 assists against the Chicago Sky. Although she lost that game, she still added to the whopping amount of records which have her name on them. Coming in at number 10, inevitably, Clark was drafted number 1 overall in the 2024 WNBA draft, which meant even more hype to her name. However, she was easily able to live up to it as she averaged 17 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds in only her first month as a professional basketball player. Due to these crazy stats, she was named Rookie of the Month in May as she showed the world that she still had what it takes to play basketball, even at a professional level. At number 9, on June 7th, she got back to her old pastime, breaking records. In a game against the Washington Mystics, she put up a stat line of 30 points with 7 three-pointers made. Those 7 three-pointers tied the record for the most three-pointers ever in the WNBA as a rookie, tied with now Chicago Sky assistant coach Crystal Robinson. And at number 8, very recently, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever went up against the Washington Mystics. In this game, Caitlin Clark went off as she drained 5 three-pointers on her way to a very impressive stat line. Her final box score was 29 points, 13 assists, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals, which was a stat line that had never been done in the NBA or the WNBA since the early 1970s. At number 7, in another recent game against the Phoenix Mercury, Clark really decided to show off her shooting range. In this game, she decided to pull up from the logo twice, and she nailed both. These helped propel the Fever to a huge win against the Phoenix Mercury, and it showed us that Clark has range like no other. Coming in at number 6, also in her senior year, in a heated and close game against another Big Ten rival, Michigan State, Caitlin Clark hit a mind-blowing shot to seal the game. As the buzzer sounded, Clark pulled up from deep and nailed a 3 in the face of a defender, closing the game as the Iowa crowd went wild. The craziest thing is that this was not even the craziest shot that she would make this year. And at number 5, before Clark could break the record for the most points scored, the world had to see her take the 3rd and 2nd all-time spots on the scoring leaderboard. So, Clark decided to take both in the same game against another Big Ten rival, Northwestern. After this big game, Fox devoted an entire camera to just watching Clark as she came up and down the court and called it the Caitlin Cam, as it filmed content which could be displayed on social media sites everywhere. And at number 4, as Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, people were not only questioning her ability to score, but also her ability to do what was needed to win and to get people involved. So Clark showed the world exactly that when she recorded her first professional triple-double against the New York Liberty with an impressive stat line of 19 points, 13 rebounds, and 12 assists. She also led them to a win in this game, and it was an upset against the loaded Liberty with names like Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart. And coming in at number 3, in her senior season, the lights were all on Clark, even though there were many other amazing players around her, like Angel Reese and Camila Cardozo. When it came down to the national championship game, it was the one thing that Clark did not have on her resume. So in the 2024 NCAA Women's Tournament, Clark had her eyes set on one thing and one thing only: the championship trophy. She fought hard to get to the finals, but had to face Dawn Staley and the undefeated South Carolina Gamecocks. In a crushing defeat, Clark still showed the world who she was, putting up 30 points with 18 coming in the first quarter, breaking the record for the most points scored in a period in national championship history. At number 2, after Caitlin Clark had broken the all-time women's scoring record, she still had some more work to do. Pistol Pete Maravich's all-time scoring record, men's or women's, was in sight, and it was one that Clark surely wanted. So in a game against big rival Ohio State, Clark could see the record. And with 0.3 seconds left in the first half, Clark went to the line just needing to sink a couple of free throws to seal the record and make it her own. She made the first free throw and just needed one more to break the record. With the home Iowa crowd cheering her on, she made the second free throw, and the record was hers for good, as she had become the all-time scoring leader, men's or women's, in collegiate basketball. And at number 1, finishing us off, we are going to go to Clark's most famous shot. The shot, which was marked as the craziest one of that year and of her career, came in a home game against Michigan. The build-up for this game had been months and even years coming, as famous people crowded into the gates to watch Caitlin Clark break the all-time NCAA scoring record. The tickets for this game were hot and expensive, and anyone who could get their hands on one was lucky. And as Caitlin Clark brought the ball down the court just needing a three-point shot to break the record, all of a sudden she pulled it from an extremely long distance, nailing it. In the days, weeks, and months following the shot, people were talking about it, and it was on just about any and every sports talk show. It was labeled as one of the most impressive shots in basketball history. Not only because of the difficulty, but also because of what it stood for and the record which was broken when she took that shot. All of these instances have shown us that Clark has a lot to show us, and that she is not stopping anytime soon. Alright, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you thought down below in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the episode if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.